show starts. But we do have David Thorpe. We've gone through easily the highest heart rate part of each of our weeks, which is the moments of trying to get logged into the damn Substack Live. David, how the hell are you doing?
I'm a work in progress right now. A lot of stuff happening at Thorpe House. My wife's out of town, so it kind of falls on my shoulders to deal with it. There's not that much to do, but
Yeah.
whatever. This has been a tough week for basketball fans, and also a joyous week. The games are great. I'm so happy for that. And I've got this issue. I'm very worried it's going to be this. I'm going to have to hold my camera with my hands, not sticking.
You
Great.
guys, that happened in the little warm up, and I promised David that if it happened during the show, I was gonna laugh
I don't know.
really
It's
hard.
not funny to me at all.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
not.
have
It's
to hold my camera up for an hour like it's a fucking cell phone.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm laughing. I'm sorry that you're suffering.
I'm glad I could be your amusement. I'm glad I'm a clown.
These are you have found the right friends. Okay, I'm trying to stop. Um, okay. Um, I gotta tell you, to be totally honest, David, I'm having a terrible week myself. Jason Collins, Brandon Clark, that's the real life. I'm gonna have a stupid little complaint, but if anyone who knows me personally knows that I am a hardcore caffeine addict. I love caffeine, and for reasons that are just too tedious to go into, I'm caffeine free this week, and I feel like a zombie. I I will say stupid things today. I've had moments of this week where I'm just kind of staring into space and thinking about taking naps. Like I'm just not my regular peppy self. And some people I live with would tell you I've been a little cranky around the house. But I'm coming back. I'll be back in the caffeine world. But for today, I'm just like, I think this is what it feels like for people who have like chronic fatigue syndrome a little. Just have a little whiff of that where I'm just like, I'd rather just be taking a nap right now. So yesterday, I actually in the middle of the workday, I mowed the lawn just to kind of wake myself up, just so I wouldn't fall
Wow,
asleep at the computer. But
that's weird. That's
it's
weird to me.
no, I'm an addict. It's not the worst drug, you know. I say this to people all the time. You know, people are addicted to terrible things. You know, I'm like, I'm addicted to espresso. Okay, I think
Coffee is good for your heart. I've never had a sip, but I'm considering just for that reason, just black coffee. I like bitter. I drink bitter
yeah.
tea all the time. No sugar, no honey, nothing. So I think I'll be fine with coffee. I just have never had a sip before, but
I,
I'm giving it some thought. I don't
I
need the
did a
caffeine.
fair amount of research on it as to like, you know, what is the way to safely consume coffee, and the experts, they're going to blow your mind, David. And you know what they recommend is moderate consumption.
I don't. I don't need the caffeine hit. I'm a
Yeah,
little. That's what I'm worried about. Is I already get 5 hours sleep many nights
yeah,
anyway,
that's
just
true.
naturally.
Yeah,
So I don't want that to be 4. But
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Okay,
Um,
so we have so much going on. The playoffs are going on. Um, I was up late watching the Cavs and Pistons, which was really exciting overtime game. And I'll tell you, here's my question that I've been dying to ask you since watching that was the Pistons are the number one team in the East and 60 plus wins. And I was just surprised it was Dennis Jenkins and Karis LeVert for all of crunch time. And I was just was part of me is like, are they good enough? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not that I like both those players, but like this is the overtime of the second round of the playoffs, and it just feels like most teams are playing more prestigious players in those roles,
well experienced.
bigger.
The concern with Detroit going in, there's a few. To me, was always experience. As much as I value youth and energy and athleticism and all of that, I value those guys even more when they've actually played a lot of important games and even lost. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly what we thought might. Here we go.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I've been doing this the whole time. I'm sure.
Oh, I want to
It's a
send
very
you a
short
piece of
show.
duct tape. Yeah,
Is
just
why, yeah, that's what I'm not to rig it. It has a sticky thing connected to it, but it's just not taking.
if we had a
So,
gambling sponsor right now, I'd be like over under on how
that'd be
many
great. Oh, it's
camera
gonna happen again.
collapses. Yeah.
I think Detroit, they get stagnant. I also thought the both coaches didn't years ago. I thought both coaches, they're not subbing enough. I thought the guys were absolutely exhausted. I mean, James Harden can make free throws. He made his first 9, missed 3 of the last 6. That tends to be fatigue. It isn't always fatigue. So, yeah, that's a concern to me for both teams. But Jenkins started the game.
Yeah.
They're looking for offensive firepower beyond Cade,
Yeah.
and it's been a problem.
It's been a problem. I thought so. Harden has been up and down in this series, which is super intense, right? Like it's moving fast. The game is moving crazy fast, and I felt like James Harden, kind of the iconic moment of James Harden to me is he has crashed to the floor and he's calling for a replay,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like he's Grandpa's trying, man. Grandpa's out there and he is trying to hang with like these with like the Asar Thompsons of the world, right? It's
right.
super super athletes, and he did a good job. Not a great job, but a good job of hanging, and like, but it just looked like, it's taken everything out of him. Then in the post game interview, I think he said that, he was trying to do what he could because Donovan had been exhausted from his performance
Yeah,
the game before. So it's like
yeah,
we are, you know, everyone's trying to hang in this like Asar Thompson pace game. And that brings in like Dennis Schroeder and stuff, right? You're trying to get these like both teams are looking for players who can move at this pace. Jalen Durham was on the bench for a lot of key minutes, right? It just seems like this is a not exactly like the Pacers last year, but it's a little bit of this kind of wild and free, fast paced, hardcore basketball that doesn't favor every kind of player.
you see what I'm trying to do this camera.
Talk
People
about
don't
wild and
watch.
free.
Save yourself, people don't watch, just listen. Um, yeah, yeah, with I don't know. Yeah, I've said this before. I think sometimes oh, I'm gonna figure this out. I
Okay,
don't
okay.
know. I think sometimes JB gets a little caught up in uh, things beyond just coaching his team and paying attention to his team. He's done such a terrific job of getting his guys to compete at the very edge of like the Draymond Green level of competitiveness. He's done this now for 2 seasons, and I think it's made an enormous difference with the Pistons. They were just not doing that,
Mhm,
and in the regular season, that's enough when you've got Kate Cunningham and, some talent. In the playoffs, this is what Cleveland has manufactured after the first 2 games as just a much better compete level.
mhm,
My favorite word in coaching when I was a coach of 5-on-5 games, it was the word I probably used most is compete
mhm.
more than anything, followed by lots of claps, like loud, obnoxious clapping.
Yeah.
Um, and it's worked until now. It's not enough.
Mhm,
And Cleveland has absolutely raised their level of play. I don't think it's where they need to beat the Knicks, which we're never sure they're going to play them yet. They still have to beat Detroit one more game. I don't know if that's
mhm,
going to happen. These are very competitive games. But for Detroit, they've got to find other ways to score and uh, get Tate some help. And I think Coach thought Jenkins and Levert, and he was right to some degree. They were better, at scoring, but they've got to do more of that.
Samatar, who's a hero of mine for having some questions when I was doing this solo,
Yeah.
he said, Cade has a lackadaisical approach to his game to give the ball away for Strus strip in the end of OT, which was key. I'm not saying everyone should Westbrook level passion, but let's not be too laid back.
Boy, that's interesting. So that's something I deal with a lot. Uh, is the too casual comment. Try to figure out the best angle here.
Yeah.
Um, it's something I hear veterans say about young players, especially. Is I just talked to one the other day about it. A guy that's not in the playoffs. He was talking about a particular teammate, very young, top 10 talent, top 10 draft pick. Um, too casual too often, and this veteran was complaining about it. It is. I don't know that that's right with Cade because on the one hand, aren't we always expressing praise for the players who can't get sped up,
Mhm.
playing with poise? I mean, I think that's
I
what
don't
Cade
think he
is.
has a particularly high turnover rate. I don't think he's, like,
No.
generally just bumbling balls around, right?
I think he's the focus of the other team defensively,
Yeah. And sometimes they get you, right?
and they don't have an AJ Mitchell on their team.
Right.
Boy, imagine AJ Mitchell on that team.
Yeah.
Because
That's
Shea,
what they need instead of this Karis LeVert situation.
yeah, or Dennis.
Yeah.
Cade is doing a lot. He's carrying a lot of baggage,
Yeah.
and on both ends. And I think that we know it carries a cost. I mean, the Knicks are where they are now. They were there last year too in the finals and got run out in 6. And Brunson ends up running out of gas. And maybe now, because of the way they're playing through Cat so much more, in fact, I would argue that that won't be the case in the next series. And getting all this rest now really helps. I don't know who they're rooting for. They could be rooting for Cleveland, just because they think Cleveland's a lesser of an opponent, maybe than Detroit. I don't necessarily agree at all. But either way, they could also be rooting for rest, more rest
Mhm.
before they play the Eastern Conference Finals. So Cade's carried of the baggage all year, all postseason, and I think that's having an effect too, is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I this is something I think about pretty deeply. Um, should you be more hyper or more relaxed, right? Should your heart rate be higher or lower?
Right,
And to me, like, we have a hardcore bias in the sports world that it should be higher. Almost every workout product, right, is like an upper. Um,
right.
but if you spend a bunch of time at P3, um, and you're not as drunk as David's camera,
Not fun at all.
that's rough.
Hey, listen, I didn't want to do a podcast in the first place because of this. This is a favor to all of you. I don't fucking deal with
It's hard,
technology.
man. It's hard out. It's
Give
a
me,
hard job. It's a hard
give me
job.
a ball and a coin, 2 nets and 2 rims, and I'm good. A
Yeah,
couple guys.
we just don't have those things for you today. No.
No,
um, but okay, so I'm training for this High Rocks thing, which is insane. If you guys know what High Rocks is, it's like 16 events. Other one of them is a kilometer run. In between, you do difficult. Oh, the camera off.
I'm gonna try
Okay.
to fix it. Go ahead.
Okay. In between, you do difficult uh, CrossFit type movements, like carrying 100 pounds on the farmer's carry or pushing a sled or whatever.
Okay.
The guy from P3 who gave me a little phone call I asked him for some pointers and how to train for this. He's like, well, I think the winner of an event like that is the person who goes into the next event with their heart rate the lowest. So you you can train lowering your heart rate. Basically, it's like, you finish a kilometer run, you're going to do carefully rehearsed breathing that you've practiced all through the training regimen to get your heart rate down. Um, it looks to me like that's what Cade's good at. And I've noticed that in the movement data, like the second spectrum data, if you look at the players who move the least in the NBA, it's superstars. I
Yeah.
think because they read the floor the best, but also because they know how to grab these little moments of like getting their heart rate down. And so then they're ready for the next, you win by having your heart rate go high for these little moments and then recovering quickly. Right. And so to me, like we have this, like, maybe Cade is very smart and strategic to, um, he's kind of taking deep breaths and he's looking up the court and he's moving kind of slow. And maybe that's really, really good for him, even if once in a while it leads to a steal. Um, College players are hyper all the time and they fuck everything up, right? They run around like chickens with the head cut off. So to me, like we have this bias toward action, but it seems to me like the best players have a pretty good understanding of the value of when your heart rate's coming down.
Well, you're talking about economy of movement, right? I think that goes to experience. I um, I think that also Cade. Listen, he isn't super athletic, super fast, super quick. None of that. And so he's found ways to really impact winning without having to be the most athletic dude. And it makes some sense. Um, I just know this, the weight of responsibility of having to do everything. And even just if you look at the last possession of, I think it was overtime, uh, James Harden Donovan Mitchell is trying to get Asar Thompson off of him.
Hmm.
I thought the mistake that they made at the end of regulation was they had Evan Mobley set a screen who was guarded by Cade. I don't think Cade's the best guy to attack. I
Hmm.
would have brought in one of the other defenders, not Cade. Nevertheless, it's happening a good amount where Cade's having to guard someone like a Donovan Mitchell. It
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
there's a lot to it.
A little tiring.
Uh, we often not unique to fans. Coaches often think a player is playing less hard than he needs to when they don't see him racing. When in reality, the smart guys are picking the times they're supposed to race.
Hmm.
Right? Playing super hard all the time can be a mess. I have to work with that with one of my clients in particular. Well, this was a couple years ago. He just played way too hard all the time, and that meant he was out of control.
Hmm.
Right? You charge guys, you pick up offensive rebound fouls, you create turnover problems for your own team, you foul. Like we have to manage that. I think Cade's one of the best players in the world now doing what he's doing.
So if you're just joining us, David Thorpe is here. In the opening moments, his camera collapsed off whatever it was stuck to about 5 times, and I cracked up every time. I think it kind of pissed him off.
No, it kind of.
So now he's camera off. Are you going to be camera off for the duration? You think?
No, here we
Oh,
go.
oh, he's back.
Well, listen, I wish ESPN would learn this idea of sometimes only voices matter. Nobody wants to see this old face.
Yeah,
Not even my wife who's traveling.
yeah,
They too often are showing us the dudes sitting down talking during the combine
yeah,
when there's 10 dudes playing to make the NBA. Can we just watch those guys, please?
yeah,
Nobody needs to see my face. That's for sure.
yeah. Okay. Well, we could just show maybe we could, since your camera is having a little trouble, maybe we could just show combine footage.
Oh, yeah. Here's what's amazing. There'll be 10 guys playing, all very good players. Many of them will have a cup of coffee in the NBA or a two-way deal at the end of this. And what they'll do is they'll show for the fifth time Cameron Boozer highlights. He's not even playing.
Yeah,
Like there's no thought process at ESPN as to if people are tuning in, and there's not many, I'm sure. They want to watch the games. We have enough commentary on the guys in the draft between now and late June. Can we actually watch the guys that are playing, please? Like I make the same thing every year. They never listen.
they don't care. Yeah. Well, you might be a little bit of a unique consumer too, right? We're like you really deeply want to watch
Yeah.
someone no one's ever heard of, and
No, they
they,
all no,
they
no. They've all heard of them. They're
no, no. I'm telling you, if you put in Google Trends, you search the name of the 14th most famous player at the combine. This is zero television draw whatsoever. You cannot
oh,
run a
I
TV
agree.
network on this player,
But
right?
but
Like,
I can't but I gotta believe it's more than the same highlight we've always seen of Cameron Boozer, who we're gonna be seeing the same things because, yep, he's not playing again. So we're only gonna watch his highlight between now and the
yeah,
3rd week of June. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's just quickly. I know that the combine is just a nobody likes it, but have you seen anything good, anything exciting? Anyone who's done well? Anyone who surprised you?
I don't even wanna get into, uh, what these guys do. I do believe the measurements are important. I'm not even studying that, although the kid from Michigan, Mara, is a huge man. He's no Zach Edey, but
Yeah,
he's a huge man. I actually like him until I think he's got a chance. DeBanza shot well in the combine. I don't care about any of that. Darren Peterson, games matter to me, but I do want height, wingspan, all of that. That part is fine. P3 doing their stuff, great. I think the skill stuff is absurd. I
hmm,
really do. That and that's not to say that in a vacuum it's worthless. The teams will be doing the same thing with the top 10 guys. None of those ones work out with pretty much against anybody. Surely not the top 5. They're going to show up to a couple teams, work out 1-on-0 with some coaches maybe, and that'll be it. But I like seeing the games just because that's what teams are looking at. Any one game shouldn't matter. I'm not sure they do matter. I'm not even sure any of this really matters at all. And just to take it a step further, Henry, every team is still going to measure these guys for height, wingspan, weight, and whatever else they do. We don't need to do it collectively the way we do it because they're doing it individually. I think they're doing it because some teams may end up having to draft a guy they've not been able to bring in, and so now at least they have some degree of there's some baseline of the measurement that they want. But I think the NBA is doing some things better in some ways, but the combine isn't one of them really.
it's maybe the best thing about it is the height without shoes. Which exists in a record for the rest of their career, and you can see the comedy of what they're listed at over their careers. There's a bunch of dudes who are
Well, in college, yeah, because the pros are supposed to stick with the actual measurement. And it's funny, a lot of these players have gone to get officially measured, Henry, at some institute where they're training, and I'm getting those measurements because agents send them to me, and they're not necessarily matching up with what the NBA does because
yeah,
there's different ways to measure
measure
guys'
it.
height. You can
Yeah.
have your heels together and your feet pointing out a little bit. That's one way to do it. Wingspan tends to be a little more common, but here's an example of the combine issues. Two of the players yesterday that led their team in scoring, a guy named John Blackwell from Wisconsin and Matt Abel from who's going to North. Matt Abel was at NC State. They both scored. One scored 16, one scored 15. They looked really good. I got texts from NBA people there what talking about one or the other. Meanwhile, Blackwell is supposed to go to Duke for a bunch of money. Abel, who's only a sophomore to be, is getting a bunch of money to go to Carolina. I don't know if they'll be in the NBA draft. And
Mhm.
they're two of the better players in the combine. It may not mean anything. You'll
Yep.
see them in a year if they go back to school or even more. Remember, you get 5 years now, Henry, 5 years to play five. So in the case of Matt Abel, who was a top 30 player a year ago in this same class, he's got 4 years of college. You're talking about a guy that could make, I would do the quick math here, 10 to $20 million over the next 4 years in college.
Mhm.
That's a sizable chunk of change. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's interesting to me. It's
Yeah, the NBA is just starting to have real competition, and it's showing up in this draft moment, right? Where they have, I would argue, maybe you see it differently, but the veterans and the billionaires have artificially suppressed rookie salaries forever because the rookies aren't in the CBA negotiations. So they just everybody takes money from them. They split it up, which means right now Wemby's playing for a lot less than he would make on the open market, and just now it's starting to pull John Blackwell out of the mix. Right, is someone who really the assumption of everyone is that if he could be a high NBA draft pick, he would be a high NBA draft pick, but that might not be true this year, not because he's not good enough, but because he can make more money or sufficient money that he's willing to explore Duke.
no, no, you
I
were
don't know.
right the first time. More money.
There you go.
The money these top guys are making, Thomas Houck at Florida, for example, there's a lot of numbers bandied about. Like one of them is I've seen 6 million, 8 million, 9 million. They're all very close.
Yeah,
Okay, he's the highest paid guy.
yeah,
So I know what he's making. I'm just telling you these reports. They're in that area to be accurate,
yeah,
and you have to be a top three pick to make that kind of money.
yeah,
Blackwell's making a lot of money to go to Duke for sure. And I've seen players not even enter the draft because that was part of the deal. Is you can't even put your name in the
I
draft.
see,
We're going
I
to
see.
guarantee you this money. And so you're exactly right. It is an interesting next few years, 1 year at a time, where you've got players not even putting their name in. And watch the exodus after this combine.
Yeah,
That so which opens up opportunities for guys to stay in and give up the college dream and making all this money because they have a chance to be drafted 22, 25, 27, and that's guaranteed 2 years. But again, in college, if you stay, if you're a very good player like a Matt Abel, top 30 in the class a year ago, you got 4 more years to make $2 to $8 million a year,
yeah.
depending on how well you play. It's just another pro league that is competing now with the NBA. I mean, I personally think obviously it's great,
So, but it's not good for the draft.
right?
And then there's another thing happening in the draft, which I'd love for you to explain, which is a lot of these players who are in this combine right now will have their agents furiously calling teams through the second round saying, "Do not draft my guy." Why they do that?
Because near the end of the second round, especially, so the last 15 picks second round, if a team is going to draft them but has no roster spot available and thus are guaranteed to get a two-way, whereas maybe another team who doesn't, there's teams that don't have second round picks.
Hmm.
They might be saying to the agent, "We'll sign your guy to a guaranteed deal."
Hmm.
Like, doesn't happen all the time, but 100% can and does happen.
Hmm.
And so that's right. You have a situation now where that the idea of being drafted is good, and it's true. And there's a process there that the players benefit from being drafted versus not drafted. But if they're stuck getting a two-way, they're better off going to a lower team in the draft or not drafted if they could get the guaranteed deal.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that all kind of the draft is problematic in so many ways. Um, I wrote this thing based on a whole bunch of data that um, you'd kindly said was basically like the greatest thing I've ever done, or something like that. But the point is that there are a million ways to slice and dice it, but if the dream of every mock draft is that you're going to draft a player who's going to ascend into the pantheon of like elite players and make your team good, then by a pretty basic measure, that happens 6% of the time. 6% of picks become excellent as we defined it by 10 earned wins a year or more. And did
I'm the
so.
team that's drafted.
What's that?
I'm
On
the
the team that
team.
drops. Exactly right. This is what I'm saying. So If you're picked out, this was one of the most alarming parts to me is if you're a first round pick, but outside, or if you're a pick, first or second round, outside of the top 5, your likelihood of becoming even good you're being good or okay, being good on the team that drafted you is like 10%. It's just, I mean, we could quote some numbers, but it's something like that. It's under 20% for sure. I This is not how we see the draft looking
Right.
forward at it,
Right.
right? Once you get to pick 7, 8, 9, 10, Adam Silver's gonna be saying these names. And once we just know that, like, that guy's either not gonna make it, or if he does make it, it's very unlikely to be on with the hat on that he's getting that day.
That's why I thought this piece was one of the best things you've ever put together, and you've written a lot of amazing things over in the years I've been reading you, which was before
It's
the
all the
reading
years,
was
David.
yeah,
There aren't years that I was writing and you weren't reading, I don't think.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, I think you're making an amazing point. It is such it's almost a bait and switch. I'm not sure that's even the best term. We are trying to convince fans that the savior is coming,
Mhm.
and it's just so wrong. So it's just all falsehood, if not an outright lie. What really they're saying is we're drafting a guy that has some chance to help us win some games for more than a few weeks and months and even maybe years. No one's getting excited about that. So they're not saying
Mhm.
that, but that's the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
And it bothers me. Yeah, I think I gave you the example the other day of ESPN's latest draft guru. I mean, remember Chad Ford was the guy. Who you and I both consider a great working relationship with and a friend. Um, Chad was no astute evaluator of talent at all. I think he would tell you that. By the way, he shouldn't be. He was a brilliant writer, an amazing legal mind, like a genius guy. Is he also supposed to have great vision for basketball futures? That doesn't seem fair. Like
No.
we're just humans.
But Chad's job
Um,
was to have relationships with
yes,
goddamn every agent and GM and have them take his phone call and
and
listen
he
all
was
the
a
time.
trustworthy man who
Yeah.
worked his ass off to
Yeah.
try to be accurate with how people who are supposed to know about basketball futures to opine about it. And then John Gavoni came in, someone I also know very, very, very well. I do not think he is even close to being an astute evaluator of basketball talent, but he puts a lot of miles on traveling the world, talking to people, and has been doing this for a long time. And the guy they have now, Jeremy Wu, I don't really know his story, but when he wrote that the Pacers, when they thought they would have the pick, would draft Darren Peterson, number 2, if he wasn't number 1. Um, and that would be the reason why, with Tyrese Halliburton coming back, they could be contenders. And I just thought, is he not watching NBA basketball? Do you think they're going to give Darren Peterson a job over Aaron Nesmith or Andrew Nemhart? Are you out of your mind? Are you not watching? Now, is it possible in some world that Darren Peterson, who wasn't able to help Kansas all that much and was injured pretty frequently, uh, could be like Dylan Harper? There is a world of possible for that.
Very rare.
Right, it's very rare,
Yeah.
and Harper, I don't know that Harper would be this good if Wemby wasn't on their team.
Mhm.
He is that kind of he has that kind of gravitas, the
Mhm.
gravity of Victor Wembanyama. The Pacers don't have that. They have a lot of great players. It's just it's a mistake to even think these guys in year 1 can have any kind of impact in a good way. That's the challenge really is, do we play what was the first thing you texted me after the lottery? I'm
Uh,
wondering if the Pacers are better off or not getting the pick.
like, if their odds of it winning a title have gone up or down.
Right, and I think
Yeah.
they've gone up.
Yeah.
I do, because I don't think they would have traded that top 4 pick.
That's where it
Listen,
could have been interesting. If they'd gotten it and traded it, okay, now maybe their odds have gone up.
I
But
completely agree with you.
yeah.
Listen, they definitely would have rather had the pick because of the value it represents,
Yeah.
but to help them win, way better off trading the pick. Um, Especially, I mean, most coaches aren't doing great with young players. Rick Carlisle is one of many. Almost all of them struggle. As you wrote intelligently, Mark Dagno, different story. Because AJ Mitchell and 28, 29 other teams, he's in the G League all of last year, maybe all of this year as a two-way player. Dagno, he never spent one second in the G League, not a practice. Day 1 of training camp, they're like, okay, that guy's an NBA player. That is a confidence from your boss that I could just trust my eyes and not worry about who got drafted where and where they went to school. You remember, AJ Mitchell wasn't a second round pick. He went number 38, I think, from Kansas or North Carolina or Duke or even California which is in the ACC. It was California, Santa Barbara, right? Which no one really knows what league they're in. And yet he's been one of the best players in the playoffs. Not the best player, but one of the best, even according to Shea, as you mentioned. So yeah, we just it's
Also, I'm just
hard.
gonna like UCSB is their head head of performance. It's this guy Luke Story who was worked at P3 for
Yeah,
since the beginning, and like he just published today a little video of AJ's
I saw
like
it.
off-season workouts. Those are straight P3. I mean, there's whole sections of my book on several of the different moves AJ is doing in those videos. Like AJ's from the crucible of better freaking physical training. Like in addition to everything else, but he's been, he can move that dude. Like he can
100%
really
right.
move.
It is not an accident
Yeah,
that this success story happened. The guy spent all of his time. P3 is like his strength training.
yeah, yeah,
What? Who gets
yeah.
that?
This is like
Like,
UCSB is not a highway to the NBA, but it does have one little leg up in this one component, right? They do go, it's only, I don't know, 11 minutes or something drive from UCSB to P3.
yeah, I know. I've read that he spends his summers, still doing that same stuff, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway, to the point of the draft is, the ESPN has acted that AJ Devanza is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo next year,
yes.
and I'm telling you, very unlikely he's ever going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, and or maybe even an All Star. It's that hard. And listen, Kate Cunningham is fantastic, All NBA for sure, not as a rookie.
No, as a rookie.
Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year last year, not as a rookie. We can go
Kevin
on and on.
Durant's a rookie, terrible.
Who?
Kevin Durant,
Terrible.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Derrick Rose as a rookie, not
Correct.
great. Yeah,
It's really hard. And so, and the thing, I know we'll get to Brandon Clark, but when I'm writing with Brandon, who I didn't know, it just, the whole thing is, this is such a hard league to not just start well, but to stick.
yeah.
No matter what your pick is, it's hard to do. And I'm mindful of that every day. I have no choice but to be that. And the combine makes it seem like all these guys are going to be stars. It's just absurd.
It's just absurd. Yeah, and there's a like you and Marcus have jobs where you're adhered to certain players, right? Like you're like, I want to figure out what problems you have, which means you listen to them and they listen to you and you build trust, right? The Brandon Clark story, which we don't really know
Yeah.
why he's no longer alive, but what you wrote about in the piece that we just published that I love, is it's very common for NBA players to feel anxiety or alone or not able to express vulnerability, right? And I think there are many causes for that, and this is common outside of basketball. Some of it has nothing to do with basketball. But one part of it is, as we learned from the combine and the draft, is these jobs, which are dream jobs, are super slippery. You are replaceable. Like that's the big message. And so to me, like the difference between how most teams, if you're not playing well enough, nobody cares. You're just done. And psychologically, that's a freak show, right? I mean, this is a very, very strange business where everyone's dreams could be over tomorrow or today. And mostly the psychology of it is next man up. This is what we say.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
Yeah.
I think
Right.
for you and Marcus, it's like, oh, no, no, no. Like, I mean, I remember Chris Dunn's having a pretty good career now, but when I was writing the book, I went to P3 in Atlanta, and Chris Dunn had been playing in China,
Yeah.
was not a name on anybody's mind, and there he was just grinding out really hard workouts and telling people that he thought he was gonna have a good comeback, and I know everybody was probably like, "Yeah, long shot," you know? Like, it's a long shot, right? That grind is the real NBA, right? Is this kind of who does Chris Dunn believe and trust in when no one believes and trusts in him, right? And there are a bunch of NBA players who don't talk to much of anyone. And to me, this is where it's kind of a harsh environment. And it is to be expected that there will be some pain that comes out of that, especially in the mental health area.
Yeah. I was talking to a really, really, really special player yesterday morning, all-star, all-NBA, been a champion. Like, he's just won everything and made a ton of money and will make a lot more. He's pretty young. He's not pretty young, but he's not retiring next year or anything. Uh, and he said to me, it's such a corporate environment. He's a very bright man. Very corporate environment in the NBA, he said, "If I ask a coach a question on court," this is the direct quote, "I'll get a 10-minute answer." And he hasn't answered the question. It was just a yes or no question.
God damn it. I hate those
We
conversations.
all do. We all do. And it sounds smacks of corporate talk, right? And, I laughed and said, "Well, thank goodness for that, because that's why I have a business. We're trying to help our players solve problems." And, I understand, though, where these coaches are coming from. They wanna keep their job. So, I won't get paid by a player if I'm doing that. They'll find
Mhm,
someone else to answer a question, or they won't it and not get the question answered the way they want it. That's helpful. And so I'm better off just telling the truth. But these coaches aren't always. So
mhm,
I understand where they're coming from. They're trying to survive.
mhm.
I was never cut out for that kind of lifestyle. That's why I avoided all of it. Um, but it doesn't create that relational connection that you want. So that again, we don't know yet about Brandon Clark. I mean, everyone at the combine is texting me what they're hearing. I've talked to Grizzlies players, multiple players, and we don't know. We know that there's. I think where the police report that there was a suspicion of an overdose. Overdose, correct?
I think that
Police-
the phraseology was like there was drug paraphernalia and they're
Yeah,
investigating potential
whatever that
overdose.
means.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope it is not something recreational like a Len Bias thing. We don't know. We know this. He was injured more than he was healthy for years. And,
And
I have
he played
experienced.
72 games over 3 years, which is
Is that
just
right?
means so much time watching,
Less than a
right?
third.
I think 1 year he played 2 games. Like, it just, and there's a bunch of different injuries too.
Right,
Like,
right. His body just wasn't made for it. Um, I have experienced, firsthand, not directly from me, but with people I knew who were dealing with, addicted painkiller addictions, and, which is no anyone could happen to it. I don't wanna get into too much detail just because it's boring, but I have a voice in my head that tells me when to stop taking a drink.
mhm,
It's lovely. You're done, and I can have a very full glass of very expensive scotch at a wedding or whatever, and I'll have one sip, but it might be whatever it is the sip too much, and something says you're done, and I put it down and everything twice about it, including if I pay for it at a restaurant or a bar. Done. I've talked to someone I'm very, very close with who said, "Oh, I have a voice too," and my that voice says, "Keep going." This is a very professional, one of my favorite people on the planet, but he knows, as he said to me, but his wife has to, or his friend me has to say, "Okay, you're done," because his voice is
mhm.
telling you different. And that's just how it really comes. It's something I trained for. It's always been this way. I've never had a hangover in my life. I so what I've been told is, I mean, I have one very close friend who was hit by a car. He did nothing wrong. He was in a car accident. The other person's fault. Was in a hospital and got addicted to fucking pain pills. And really, I wasn't friendly with him during this period of time in his life. Really, really, really bad time.
Yeah,
Luckily, he's still alive and is great, doing great, married, kids, the whole thing. But scary, scary. We went through this when my son had his ankle surgery. Dude, we were so scared to, they prescribed, I forget what pain pill it was, Oxy, whatever, and, we gave him half the original dose that they told him. He was 16, and worst night of my life, he was screaming in pain, but he was so afraid, and then the same thing happened 3 weeks later. We did the surgery that first night, second worst night of my life, because he was so afraid to take the pain medication, and I was with him.
yeah,
Oh, it's terrible. So who knows what Brandon was doing? And the point I wanted to write the story about, because I didn't know Brandon, is that I do have to deal with this on a daily basis. I am talking to these players literally almost every day, if not multiple times a day. They are just regular people like everybody else. They really are. They're just tall and athletic and they work hard or whatever. Um, and so it's scary when you are dealing with what these guys have to deal with when someone says, "Oh, you'll be fine, just play." Like we shame them all the time when they don't play. The league gets mad at them when they rest instead of recovering fully. as I've said to a player this year, the bruise that you have will be there until it's not. Meaning, every time you play, the bruise isn't going to get better, and it's likely going to get worse because it likely set up a thigh bruise. You're going to get hit. So it was my brother that told me the only way to get them fully recovered is to not play until the bruise is gone. And then it's like it never was there, which makes
Yeah.
sense with the bruise, right? Some injuries are different. But to make them play because they're getting paid, we run into these kind of things all the time. And then we wrote in the article, but you pointed out to me about Tatum. I forgot that Tatum re-injured himself. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is a circle, a cycle, both that
And we do that and we credit Tatum. "Oh, he's fighting so hard to get back." But then when he gets hurt, act of God, no one could have done anything.
right.
Like we just don't there's no sense of the cause and effect here, right? Like, he wasn't ready. He wasn't
I
ready to
had
come
two
back,
I
and
had
he
two
fucked up.
players say to me last year, if they were Tyrese Halliburton, they don't know everything. Only Tyrese and his doctors knew. They would not have. They would want to have. They asked me. I wouldn't have wanted to play. I'd want you to tell me not to play.
Yeah,
It's not worth losing an entire season, even for a championship. And these are players. These two players, all about winning in every possible way. All about winning. Yet they also recognize that the career is short anyway. Any one year potentially could be 10% or more of your career.
yeah.
Not many guys last beyond 10 years, and maybe Tyrese will. And I'm not judging Tyrese at any stretch of the imagination. He may have really believed, oh, it's not going to happen to me, but it did. And he lost a year.
The problem is trust, right? To me, your story about your son, there's a million painkillers. My dad was a doctor. Like, there's probably tons of things that could have given your son relief without any risk of addiction, right? But the problem is that the doctors who hand out the oxycodone so easily caused the
Right.
epidemic, right? Like, so it's not that we don't have the right tools, it's not that we don't have compassionate people, it's that you don't have the person who you trust to really get in there and ascertain, like, what's best for you. And to me, the same thing with this, the Tatum story, um, you know, I think that if he had, like, a P3 style assessment where we really understand the molecules of the movements that are upstream of his injuries, then you get a different go signal, right? Like, I don't know Tatum's particular story, but the normal thing here is that they look at the strength and mobility of the injured leg, but, you know, the biggest predictor of injury is past injury, which means we're not sending them out there with the go signal, right? In a P3, they'd say, "We wanna see Tatum's entire million data points, granular movement, how he moved when he was himself before the injury, and when he moves like that again," which might be ahead of the surgeon's schedule, it might be slower than the surgeon, but when he moves like that, when he's really hitting the ground in a zesty, exciting way without putting undue force on the other leg, which is the most common adaptation after an injury, then he's good to go. And that's exactly what happened. There's a bunch of stories. Derrick Rose did the same thing. He
Yeah.
came back from his torn ACL and then messed up his other knee just a few games in. Um, Very, very common, and you can train. I think the problem is trust. The problem is that right now on most teams, when the staff says you're good to go, you're not good to go. Because they don't. Most doctors don't know what's upstream from injuries, right? This movement has not been well studied, which is why I wrote the book about the one place where they do study it. But yeah, this is there are plenty of players who would have Tatum's same measurements and not get injured because we're not seeing the real cause, which is some kind of movement oddity, some neurological movement thing, which is usually the cause of injuries.
It makes sense. For me, it's just, that news and then the Collins, story. And I had someone I was very, very close to died quickly of brain cancer. And I
Thanks.
remember literally being in my friend Ray's. He was like a mentor to me. He was much, much older than me. I was working with his son a lot, a high school player, and he told me we were driving home one day from a business meeting, and he told me he was worried that he had a brain tumor because he was seeing double when he shaved that morning. I'm like, Ray, you're not a tumor. He did. He was gone in a few months.
Wow.
He was in his 60s, young 60s, like,
Yeah.
probably close to my age right now. So, yeah, it's horrible. But I was glad to see Charles Barkley. We talked about this before. I was glad that Barkley, who used to be very Republican, I don't really know what his politics are now, but I think those guys say a lot of stupid things all the time, and I guess it's part of the shtick, and that's fine. I don't really watch them. I saw it on video though that he said basically, if you don't think, there's plenty of gay people in sports, you're out of your mind or whatever. And he was just really loving. I was glad that he was, because it couldn't have been easy for him to come out when he did. And yeah, just as someone who's 61 who barely remembers when I was these guys' ages. Obviously, Brandon was 29. Uh, I just know how much more life there is. It's just yeah, it was a sad week for me that way.
Yeah, absolutely. A few other topics I want to get to. One is, and by the way, everybody, if you have questions, go ahead. We have plenty to talk about, but if you'd like us to answer your questions, please put them in the chat. Scott Foster, I thought it was interesting. The National Basketball Players Association surveyed. I think they said that there were about 450 players, which is pretty much all of them,
Yeah.
and they put NBA referees into 3 tiers. That's kind of interesting. Although I think most of us probably don't follow referees that closely, and so what does it really mean? To me, the big takeaway was they added this recommendation that the finals only feature referees from tier 1, and importantly, the NBA's absolute favorite referee, the most decorated one, the one that's in the finals the most, is Scott Foster, and he came out in tier 2. So effectively, the pretty powerful Players Association is saying to the NBA, we don't want Scott Foster. Or the other ones were David Guthrie and John Goble, who are also heavy rotation finals referees. Um, we don't want them assigned in the finals. What'd you make of that?
I mean, I don't look into it much because I really try to have my players stay focused on the things they can control.
Hmm.
But I can tell you the players have opinions. One player in particular, I just forgot the referee's name, but it was right away. He's one of the main referees. And one of his teammates had gotten a technical, and the older player said to me the next day, or maybe even that night, he had to shut his mouth because that referee will bait you,
Mm,
and you have to know he's just trying to bait you. You got to walk away. That made me sad.
yeah.
I don't like the baiting idea, but yeah, these guys definitely have, feelings about these players. And I think they should, I don't know what the union would do, but I think it's a good idea that the players, hey, you're the ones who said these are the best referees. That's what we're going with.
I've noticed, Mike Breen's a nice guy. I like him. Um, known him for a long time. I, but I've noticed that he just every broadcast, whoever the referee is, he'll just make a little note about how what a wonderful and highly regarded referee that is. I know it's just like the league just gets delirious with joy at this, right? Oh, it's just like everyone's like these venerable referees, and some of them are, a lot of them are, right? But like Rodney Mott a has had kind of a bad reputation for a long time for a lot of reasons, and I don't have it all in the front of my head to like rattle them off now. But he's been a referee for 30 years and does not ref the finals. So to me, like, for the league, I'm like, do you think he's good or not? Like, is he good or not? If he's not good, what is he doing refereeing all these games all year and pissing off all these players? Like it just seems kind of weird to me.
Uh,
Um,
you're right. They're not all obviously, and they don't, no one's perfect. They make it seem like it, but I have, so, current referee and our buddies, and he's great. I've known him a long time, really great. And also a fantastic referee, and the players agree with me. And there's another referee, I don't think he's working anymore, but I had lunch with him one time. I was in town where he was, where his wife, and they asked to meet with me for advice on their son's career. And this is, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know. And I said, okay, I'm in town. I've got time. I'll have lunch with you. And I'm telling you, the check came, and I'm not someone that ever worries about. I'm happy to pick up lots of checks, but in this particular case, I didn't think it was great to pay for a check of a referee that calls my players' games.
yeah,
They called me.
yeah,
I did most of the talking and not much of the eating to give them advice. We were not leaving until they picked up that check. But finally, I realized I'm out of time,
yeah,
and I paid the check, and I was very upset.
yeah.
So
Do you
I don't
remember
think,
the dollar amount?
oh, $45 or something. It
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
expensive. Yeah, it wasn't. It was a Chili's lunch or something like
Yeah,
that. It
yeah, yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
expensive. But I thought it was weird that,
I was hoping you're gonna be so mad about it that you're like, "It was 45.82."
yeah,
Like you had it still in your head.
no, it was definitely like that. It was probably I probably got myself a salad or whatever. But I just thought, come on, bro. I know you make good money as a referee. you sought me out. Like, have the
They
courtesy.
they
Don't even
practically all did this tax scam years ago, right? Where they sold their first class tickets, downgraded to coach,
Oh, that's
and then
right.
kept all the money. Some of them got locked up. It was a real crime, and, like,
Jesus.
these are them, you know what I mean? Like, these aren't, like, total rule abider, this is not who we have. Um, yeah, and on the Mike Breen point, I think the PlayStation has done something that, the league will generally ignore. They've already ignored they said they shared these findings in March, and the league has already assigned a bunch of referees that are outside of the recommendations. But I think the interesting battle here is in the mind of Mike Breen because as Mike Breen says, wonderful referee, like now there's for the first time, there's one other point of reference that he might look into,
Yep.
right? Like Scott Foster is a tier 2 referee in the judgment of the players. And like, I don't think Mike Breen will bring that up, but now like we all know he's not saying that, right? It
That's
used
a
to be
great
that the
point.
league had the only authority. They're like, oh, these are top rated referees. And it's like, are they? The referee ratings have always been completely like it's like the secret tomb of the King Tut, like you don't get to see in there. Like it's just some magical thing where the league knows and no one else gets to know. So I'm glad there's at least one other kind of rating. I know gamblers have various ratings too, but I'm glad that there's at least some kind of beginning
Yeah,
of a
accountability.
discussion about who's good at this.
Yeah.
All right, another thing happening is that you're prominently mentioned in the New York Times today, David.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they interviewed me last week, when I was in LA about Masai. Yeah. I guess I'm in his Wikipedia page. I did not know that. And so, yeah, he's got his hands full. I liked something he said in
Can
the
we just
inter
recap the story though? You were a billion years ago. You met him how?
so I met him, I think, '99. I had a player named Olumide Oyedeji
I remember that
from
guy.
Nigeria that was one of my 3 pre-draft guys that I did for the very first time that I did a pre-draft. It was still kind of a new thing. And one of my players got drafted on the Spurs early second round. Illuminate went later. He went like 38 or something. And so I went to Boston Summer League to watch them play and met Masai. He came down. He had a big afro, like a kid and play look. He came down. I remember this like it was yes, Shaw Summer League in Boston, UMass Boston
Mm,
campus, where they have a
mm,
JFK library, very cool place. And Masai came down and introduced himself, said, "Hey, I'm teammate of Illuminate for Nigeria's national teams. I'm playing overseas in Europe. I think it was in England. And just thank you. Thank you, Illuminate. Said you helped him a great deal. We really do appreciate it. Again, this wasn't such a common thing back then for a pre draft. Never thought about it again. I must have given him a card. And I think it was 3 years later, he emailed me and said, I'm retiring. I want to work in sports. I don't really have any connections. I played overseas. Back then, I think I have some money tied up with property in Africa, Nigeria, where he's from. So I'm really starting from scratch. What do you think I should do? And I said, well, listen, I think it was like in a few weeks, I'm going to Atlanta for the Final Four. If you can meet me there, I'll introduce you to anyone I can. He's like, well, I do know a lot of really talented young players, which was true. And some of those guys ended up going to Montverde, and one of them became a draft pick. And I actually coached one of them who was he was a low level D1 player. Now he's a PhD in economics, brilliant guy, and Collins Okafor. And so he did. He met me, and I said, "Listen, I'm gonna schedule a meeting with dinner with Leonard Hamilton. Very connected guy, but also a good mentor. Leonard helped me with the business of basketball. Who I spoke to Dennis Gates recently, a head coach of Missouri, great head coach, and we were sharing Leonard Hamiltonisms that were just really smart stuff. So I had dinner with Leonard and Stan, and there was other people there, I don't remember who, and Masai. I remember meeting
Stan
Masai in the
Jones, you're
street.
talking about.
What's that?
Stan Jones?
Stan Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
I met Masai in the street. He had cut his hair since I'd seen him last. Very gregarious guy. I think you've met Masai, very
Mm.
gregarious. And so that's how it started. He started sending me players. I mean, I gave him my cell phone. That's in the article. Gino, whatever his name is, Remino,
Arena.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was texting me because Messiah had some girls players that were good. It was a lot of people I didn't know, and they didn't realize it wasn't Messiah's phone, but I gave him my phone.
So he had your phone for like the weekend or just for a few days
Yeah,
or
for
how
the
yeah.
weekend. Yeah, I remember him giving it back to me, and it was just not a lot of people had cell phones in 2002. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that until I realized, well, I would never have given my cell phone away if it wasn't such a big deal.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't such a big. We did have a life. We found a way to get around stuff without having a cell phone. And I mean, I would have it sometimes during the day as well. But when I was leaving, he gave it back to me. For weeks, I was getting texts and phone calls from people living from beside. Yeah, and that told me he knew how to network,
Yeah.
which he's good at. Yeah,
And then some. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And now he's running the Mavericks, and I like one thing he said in the article about at some point we have to stop crying, meaning Dallas traded Luka. We got to move on from that. He's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we'll see. I mean, he did great in Denver. He handled the Carmelo Anthony trade well. I don't think his time in Toronto was so great, except they did win a championship.
Kind of a big
Kawhi,
except. Yeah.
yeah, Kawhi had one great year. He left. The team went right down. He lost his job. Uh, Dallas has Cooper Flag. We'll see what happens from that. I think they do have a lot of assets. They do have some good young players they can keep or move for other picks and players. He's going to have a long window ahead of him. I don't love their owner, obviously. That to me is an issue. I don't love their coach. I don't know that he loves his coach. The rumor on the street, Henry everywhere, is that Jason Kidd wanted the job beside guy. So
Mhm.
that's going to be some conflict resolution issues that we're going to have to see. Does Jason does he go to GM? Does he keep the head coaching job? Jason Kidd, we don't know. But I wouldn't project a lot of great things for Dallas the next couple of years, other than I really absolutely love Cooper Flag.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Derek
So,
Lively needs to get healthy because he's a positive center if he gets healthy.
yep, yep, yep. Okay, last thing on our list was, the Thunder and the Knicks are resting
Yeah.
and looking good. Is that is this rest good?
Yes. Yes. They'll. I mean, OKC's done this before, although they'd never swept two series in a row before. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I think they're compete. First of all, they beat the Pacers despite losing game one. They know how to win 4 games in six. That is the concern: is you lose game one. The Spurs are in a battle. The Spurs are in a battle. The Lakers been in a battle. They almost won game four. But I think the experience of OKC should have them relatively at where they need to be compete level wise for game one, whenever they play, whomever they play. And they'll be healthy as heck. And I think J-Dub will be back. That'll be a whole nother question is do they play Joe Williams as a starter? And AJ Mitchell is a star. AJ Mitchell is going to be a star. If you ever heard people say it, get it. He is going to like lead his team in scoring for years, unless he stays at OKC, in which case he'll be their second best player because I think they'll trade Jalen Williams, but not necessarily immediately. AJ's got 2 more years left on his deal. I saw the deal the other day. So Mitchell's not going anywhere. Uh,
He's gotta be the biggest bargain in the league.
I mean, he's making whatever
Some
2.85
something
million
like
next
that.
year. He's
Yeah.
3 million now, year two,
Yeah.
8.85 next year. He's going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's one of those rare guys that can be your leading scorer and your best on-ball defender. Like
Yeah.
those guys don't exist.
Yeah.
He won't have to be one or the other because it's unfair to ask him to be both, but he can be in any one series.
Sure.
So I mean, this guy could be MVP of the finals.
Yeah.
Look how good he is. Right. And also, Shea Gilgis, I mean, Shea said AJ Mitchell was MVP. I don't agree. Shea was getting so much attention and made it easier for everybody else. Chet Holmgren was also very good. But AJ is, yeah, those three, they're a big three and they're about to be a big four if Jada comes back.
Yeah.
And now at least they can practice with him because I think he was going to be back for game 5 anyway. So he should be fine for game 1 against Spurs/Wolves. And it wouldn't
Mhm.
surprise me if the Wolves win tomorrow night in game 6. I'm more inclined to think San Antonio is going to win, but Minnesota's proved to be tough. And then the Knicks side, uh, I think they've uncovered something really special with Cat in the middle. I really like New York's chances of winning the East, very much so, and it could be NBA champions
Mhm.
because injuries happen.
Mhm.
So I would normally think there's no way they're beating OKC 4 games in 7, but I don't believe that because of injuries.
Mhm.
If you could tell me both teams are super healthy, I'd say OKC is going to win, but you can't tell me that.
What would you do as a coach during this time off?
I would do a lot of game speed drills, 5-on-0, 4-on-0, 3-on-0, and I would play some. I think you need to play some. Keep it short, keep it super competitive, and try to create as much competitive as you can within the drills you're doing, even if it's against air. And then I would definitely show a lot of film of high levels of compete for your opponent. So show plays San Antonio or Minnesota is making, or Detroit or Cleveland's making, of the high level of competitiveness that you're going to have to manufacture because that's what these guys are doing. Let these guys see it in their brains. New York's been around enough. They're an experienced team, not depending on any rookies. So they've been around, and they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Right. Right. Okay, great stuff. Anything else you wanna add? We're pretty much at
I
the
will
end of
fix
our
the camera issue for next week.
I think you did. I think you fixed it. That was
No,
a real
I
salvage.
don't love. I mean, the angle's bad. I'll have it up high. I just have
Okay.
to fix it. Yeah,
It's gonna be great. We're really gonna get this down. We've had a couple of whoopsies, we're
something
feeling
else
our
will
way.
happen.
Sometimes we don't have a guest, sometimes we
Something
don't
else.
log in. Like, but we're getting
something
there.
something else will happen. I promise you. If you come to one of my basketball workouts, as long as we get into the gym, which was a problem in LA one day, it's going to go beautiful.
You
I've dealt with no air conditioning and slippery courts and bad nets and the whole thing. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm a rank amateur.
we're all just the blind leading the blind. I thank you guys for joining us, and, we'll do it again next week. Alright, thank you.